Hello, good evening, sir. Have you joined? Hello.
I joined, madam.
Okay, sir. I am unable to see you, so I thought.
No, I'm there.
Okay, fine, sir. Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening. Uh, so we welcome to the Siddharth Law College. So today's seminar. So I like to introduce Sir Dr. Adel Dcosta. He is the President of Cyber Security Corporation and CEO, an intelligent quotient security system. He is also advisor on law enforcement agency, international trainer on cybercrime investigation and digital forensic. He has worked on more than 4,000 cases of cybercrime from 7 countries and trained more than 35,000 of cops, 3,000 judicial officers in cyber forensic, cyber law digital evidence, and cybercrime investigation. He was a regular writer in leading newspaper and expert in cyber security in various TV channels. He has also practiced in exposing and capturing digital evidence related to banking frauds, data theft, software piracy, character assassination, fake messages, which has been transmitted on Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram. Uh, Sir has also worked on instrument in developing and implementing a first in e-delivery of questions of papers of Mumbai University. The system was widely appreciated and now it's in de facto in many universities in different states of the country. We have Sir has developed cyber compliance practice to large and medium scale corporates to eliminate data preface and maximum profits. Sir has also advised Director of Technical Education, Maharashtra for amendments in MU as per as new requirement of cyber security guidelines. I'd like to introduce Mrs. Sandhya Doke to have a few words. Hello, ma'am.
Yes, thanks, Raj. Good evening, one and all. Being the in-charge principal of Siddharth College of Law, it gives me an immense pleasure to welcome our respected resource person and everyone to our third webinar today. As the founder chairman of this society, Bharat Ratna Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar was much concerned with the empowerment of weaker section and upliftment of downtrodden people. With the help of limited resources and technology, have organized this webinar today to empower the legal education to all our law students at their doorstep during this COVID-19 era. Apart from 3-year law courses, our college is providing three diploma courses such as Diploma in Labor Law, Labor Welfare, Intellectual Property Rights, Diploma in Taxation Law. Along with Sir Association, we are planning to start Diploma in Cyber Law very soon in nearby future too. We would like to extend our special welcome to our today's guest of honor, Dr. Harold Dcosta, who will be speaking today on digital evidence and cybercrime, which is a very important topic and need of today's hour. Dcosta Sir association with Siddharth College of Law is from last several years and he has guided and assisted us in many of these topics. As per my knowledge, whether it is a session for judges, as per my knowledge, whether it is a session of for judges, police officers, or various universities and colleges on various topics, Sir has been awarded several times for effectively organizing and adequately addressing all his sessions. So on behalf of Siddharth College of Law Management and staff, once again, I welcome our resource person and all my participants for today's program. I am sure that the participation of resource person and all the participants for today's program will make this program more effective and successful today. With this short note, I end my welcome speech and request Raj to proceed with the next section. Thanks to one and all.
Thank you, Principal and Sandhya Doke. Sir Dcosta to start on the session.
Good evening, everybody. In fact, I think I am audible. First and foremost, I hope that all of you are safe, sound at your respective place. Wherever you are, be at your place. Don't go much out because the coronavirus pandemic is still there. And I'm sure that in the days to come, we shall be in a position to beat this pandemic and become victorious once again. First and foremost, I thank the college and the principal for organizing and inviting me for this session. And this session, what I'm going to talk to you will basically talk about the digital evidence and the cybercrime. I'm sure that in the last couple of months, you might have read in the newspapers that there has been a slight upsurge in terms of the cyber crimes which do take place. And therefore, I think it's very important, not only during this era of this coronavirus, but also equally important that we should be in a position to understand what cybercrime is, prevent this cybercrime, protect ourselves. We are trying now to get protected from coronavirus, but we don't know that there's one more deadly virus in terms of our computer programs, in terms of some malwares, in some sort of threats, which unknowingly affect us in our personal and professional life by the misuse of technology. I will be going ahead in sharing it with you. Because can I have the share screens, please, facility? Hello? I have some presentation. So if I can just share this presentation also.
Yes, sir, you can share the presentation.
Yes, yes. Well, I have the presentation. I shall be very quick because I know that after the session, you may have some certain questions. And if you do have questions, be frank enough to ask me, because what I'm going to discuss with you is going to discuss on some live practice, on some live investigation, talking to you about the caselets and making you as far as possible protected from this deadly cybercrime. But before I do start, I just want to tell you something, is that I want to show you some live things so that you start believing into it. I'm sure that Sandhya madam is there, and at about 4:41 today in the evening time, I received a WhatsApp message from her, and the WhatsApp message which came from her number to me was that she said that I'm stuck up at Patna. So I replied, how come? She said that I have come for a seminar over here. And then I said, okay. Then she pinged me and said, I want a help. I said, what happened? She said, can you please transfer 10,000 rupees in my account urgently? I said, sure. And then she said, I cannot talk much as my battery is dying. I said, okay. This is the WhatsApp message which came to me from the principal's mobile number. I'm sure that most of you might have been surprised that how this is possible. Well, this is a message. Today it came to me and I was replying to that message. I don't know whether the principal has received this message, but then it has been originated from her number to me, and this becomes as a digital evidence. What I mean to say is that how safe are we in this era of this cyber technology is a question which seriously we may have to deal in today's session and in the days to come, because technology is being used at the large extent now. And without technology, without digital, we can't think of anything at this moment, because money transactions are through the digital mode, email communications are there, lots of social networking, what we do. We are glued on WhatsApp, glued on Facebook, glued on Instagram, but not knowing that we have its own set of problems, the own set of worries as we go ahead. This is not the only thing. I've also got an SMS from principal's number, and that message came to me at 4:46 p.m. which says that today's webinar is cancelled. In fact, it was not cancelled. If I was not in a position to understand that this was a spoofed message, probably I would have thought that today's webinar is cancelled. What I mean to say is that SMS gets to be generated, WhatsApp messages are coming. Under this scenario, how exactly we can tackle the menace of cybercrime? And let me also tell you, all what I'm showing to you is a part of digital evidence, which is admissible and may get, I'm saying may get appreciated in the court of law for the final order to be passed. Well, don't worry. I will be able to address most of this issue in today's session and make you aware that how such type of the crimes we could be protected and we could be prevented. Well, the most fundamental question when we start about this topic on this cybercrime is first to know that who owns the internet. Because we talk about internet has been there in our country from the last 26 years. We have almost about 65 crore Indians approximately glued to the internet. This statistics is of June 2019. But then in the last 11 months, I'm sure we might have added at least 5 to 6 crores more. Maybe around about 70 crore Indians today are there who are glued up to the internet. But then when we are glued up to the internet, it's a very fundamental question that who owns the internet? Well, very surprisingly, no one actually owns the internet. No single person or organization can say entirely that I own the internet. Internet is basically a concept in which you have got thousands of small, micro, macro, large, small, medium servers connected together to form a large influx, and that is what we name it as internet. In the last 26 years of the internet in India, there have been many cyber crimes. Some of them have been reported, some of them have gone unnoticed, some of them have not been reported for reasons which are very plentiful. Maybe the citizens are not aware that they have been victimized. Maybe the citizens feel that if you make a complaint, whether a complaint will take a logical conclusion. Maybe in some of the instances, complaint has been registered, but then we are not able to get the digital footprints simply because we have got a jurisdiction issues. Most of these servers located outside India, the information to get from these service provider is a big Herculean task. And therefore, under this scenario, many of them do feel, oh, the servers are placed outside. It may take years together till finally the digital footprints would be received, and then the investigation would be started and the conclusion would be derived. Well, this cybercrime is a big menace, and in today's era, each and every single individual has to know what cybercrime is to be protected from this threat. Just a few hours before, I got a WhatsApp message from one of a renowned doctor in Pune. And the message was that in the next 6 months, there will be a huge cyber attack. And that cyber attack could be probably the end of the world. He wanted my opinion. Well, I did not find out the truth in that because it just came to me a couple of hours before. But I read some part of it due to a lack of time. And what I read, a part of the information stated that with so many now people connected to the internet, with so many of the work which are now taking place from home, most of the computers which are connected at home, they are not secured. Most of the Wi-Fi's are not secured. And this becomes as a invitation for a cyber criminal to get inside a machine, to hack a computer, disrupt the data, modify the data, and then have a crime to be done. Cybercrime basically is an organized crime, and therefore there are hordes of people all around the globe sitting in different parts of the globe in different jurisdictions. From there, the crime is being done and the victim is being affected, who remotely knows that from where this crime has taken place. In the traditional crime, we have got the victim as well as the accused, both in the same jurisdiction in most of the cases. But in cybercrime, it's not like that. You may have the victim sitting somewhere in India. The accused may be sitting somewhere in US, maybe using the server which is registered in Germany, and maybe using an app or a technology which is developed in China. Under these scenario, how exactly we could tackle the issue of this cybercrime is a big question mark for the experts, for the investigating agency, for the law enforcement agency, for the judicial officers, so on and so forth. Well, I think today it's, maybe a breaking news that nobody owns the internet. And therefore, we ourselves, when we walk on the internet, we should be cautious, judiciously cautious, technically cautious, that no third person can access into our privacy, into our system, and make our professional and public life, a personal life, a miserable one. What cybercrime is all about? Well, I have written in very simple terms. Use of technology to do any unlawful activity or illegal activities can be termed as cybercrime. Well, these are the 10 different types of the cybercrime. Well, each one of those, due to paucity of time, I will just try to go in the simplistic point of view. Well, we have the cyber stalking. Well, we have got the cyber contraband. We have got the cyber trespassing, cyber laundering, cyber vandalism, cyber slandering, cyber theft, cyber porn, cyber terrorism, cyber fraud, etc. Each one of these, I would like to ponder for a few minutes, such as we exactly come to know what are the different types of cybercrime which are existing at this moment. First, cyber stalking, harassment done over the internet. Well, most of the time, the victims are women and children. Almost 70 to 72% of the cyber crimes where we find that the women's or the children, they get victimized by having a person to stalk them, having some certain type of harassment to be meted, maybe through a chat mode, maybe through our messages, by which the person gets to be victimized. The next is cyber contraband. Well, we talk about the contraband, we know illegal items. And when we talk about cyber contraband, today the internet is being used for a lot of online activities to be done. And when we talk about cyber contraband, it means buying and selling of illegal items over the internet. Well, we are very happy today that we are buying online, but let's be very specific that when we buy anything online, we should be cautious that what we buy online from the internet is from a reliable source, is from a reliable website. Else, we may buy something on the internet, on the website, we may place an order, in return, we may get something else. Point number 2, the cyberspace is not a safeguarded place. And because it is not a safeguarded place, there is an element of a chance that most of the criminals using the dark web, using the deep web, may get involved in some sort of an activities wherein the buying and selling of illegal items could take place over the internet on this dark cyberspace. Cyber trespassing. Well, when you talk about cyber trespassing, it means remotely accessing a digital device of a victim. When I talk about a digital device, it could be a mobile phone, it could be a laptop, it could be a desktop, it could be a PDA. To that matter, any electronic device wherein a third person or an unauthorized person gets access to and remotely checks and finds what the person is doing. Such type of crimes can be categorized as cyber trespassing. Once again, a little suggestion point of view, and that is, I would say women's and children have to be very much guarded against this cyber trespassing. Please ensure that when you are buying a mobile, you should install a paid antivirus in your mobile. Many of the times, especially we Indians, we buy the best of the mobile, costing ₹1,00,000 approximately, but we don't buy a antivirus. We don't buy a paid antivirus. We may have an antivirus, but you don't buy a paid antivirus through which our systems, our mobile phones could be compromised. A third person may remotely get access of that mobile phone and see what the victim is communicating, with whom he or she is communicating, what chats are going, what chat she is receiving or he is receiving, so on and so forth. There have been n number of cases which in this last 2 months of this lockdown has come to me. And one of those is cyber trespassing, where most of the time the victims, being women, say that my particular details are known to a person who then says, oh, did you receive a chat from so and so person? Did you chat with so and so person? How come that is possible that a person knows about it? Well, the answer is very simple. Your mobile is not safeguarded. Your mobile is not installed with an antivirus. Today we see on the television the great serial Ramayana, and I think in Ramayana we have one particular concept or one particular incident of Lakshman Rekha. Well, for a computer also, you should have a Lakshman Rekha, and that Lakshman Rekha is an antivirus, a firewall, which shall ensure that unauthorized access to your mobile phone is not done. And even if anybody tries to access your mobile phone in an unauthorized fashion, you will be prompted. You will be told that somebody is trying to access your mobile phone. Is it okay? If you say okay, it's fine. But if you say no, then that unauthorized access shall be stopped. So that's cyber trespassing. Once again, women's children have to be extremely cautious when a mobile phone is being used. Please install a good paid antivirus in your mobile phone or in your laptop, desktop, to that matter, any digital device, to ensure that your digital device is not being trespassed or remotely accessed. The next is cyber laundering, money laundering. Well, talk about money laundering. Technology is there. We have got incidents where some sort of cyber launderings were being done through bitcoins. The post demonetization era, there have been a lot of instances where the criminals were doing transactions through bitcoins, which of course was termed to be illegal. Well, Bitcoin was termed to be an illegal tender, but no more now at this moment. What I mean to say is that the technology is being misused, and one of the misuse of the technology is being done by the use of these cryptocurrencies. One of them which comes to the mind at this moment is Bitcoin. There has been an instance where in Pune and in 13 to 14 different places an FIR was registered against 11 to 12 people for doing money laundering activities by the misuse of bitcoins. Cyber vandalism. When we talk about cyber vandalism, it means hacking a computer, hacking a network. Well, I've also tried to elaborate this part as a cyber trespassing. But when I talk about cyber vandalism, it means hacking into a network, hacking into a computer. I'm sure that some of you would be there from the education sector. Sometimes, not sometimes, I see many times advertisements of ethical hacking programs. Well, I have yet to see that the ethical hacking programs yet to teach the law related to it. most of the times the ethical hacking program teach how these crimes have been organized, how these crimes have been done. We are no more interested to know about how the crimes have been done. We are interested that how we should be protected, how we should be prevented, and how the person who has accessed our system unauthorizedly is punished as per the provisions of the law. The next is cyber slandering. Well, when we talk about cyber slandering, it is nothing but defamation which takes place via the internet. And when you talk about the defamation, I'm sure most of you may be aware by now, at least in the last couple of months, we may be aware, so many fake messages have been floating on the WhatsApp. Well, WhatsApp has become as a fake university. When I say a fake university, it means that more than 80% of the messages today which come on WhatsApp, either they are a forwarded message or a message which comes as if it has come from a gazetted or a organization which is authentic. But in the findings of it, it is found that these are fake or spoofed messages. Just 5 to 6 days before, a senior professor from one of the biggest state level academy in Maharashtra, she sent a message somewhere to me at 8:30, 8:45 in the evening. And the message was an image. When I opened up on the image, I was shocked to see that the image which was there said that having sessions through webinar is an offense under section 498. I was nonplussed, puzzled for a moment. What is this? And then when I looked at that image, it was a nicely crafted image which was posted on the backdrop of a Aaj Tak screen. It showed that this message had come on an Aaj Tak channel. 3/4 of that screen of that television of that Aaj Tak backdrop showed this message, and the 1/4 of it showed the photograph of our Honorable Prime Minister Modi, which means that people may think, oh, this is something told by the Prime Minister during this lockdown era, during this lockdown time. You should not have webinars. If you have webinars, then under section 498, you shall be booked. When I saw that message, when I forensically examined that message, it did not take much time for me, because I come from this field. In 10-15 minutes, I was able to unveil this mystery. And I found that it was a nicely crafted image, which was made through Photoshop, and then it was pasted on the backdrop of an Aaj Tak screen to show that it was been broadcasted on Aaj Tak channel as a breaking news. Even Aaj Tak may not be knowing at that time. Probably now they may be knowing, because it's a 5 to 6 days old message. But what I mean to say that during that time when people are so panicky, and most of us today are using webinars to get connected to each other in terms of this pandemic of this coronavirus, we may think, oh, it's a crime to use it, let's not use it. After my forensic analysis was done, I quickly replied back. And when I replied back to that senior professor, she said that, thank you very much, but in this last 15 minutes, I've already forwarded to 10 to 12 groups. And don't know in that from the 10 to 12 groups to how many people it might have gone, and people may be panicky by that message. Well, I think when you talk about WhatsApp, WhatsApp is used for socializing. Well, it's used for not for passing on some certain confidential gazetted information, some sensitive informations. Well, I think the originator of WhatsApp may be just smiling at we Indians as how we are using that social networking app, because when we use WhatsApp for a professional, personal use in such a way that WhatsApp has become a new religion for us. What I mean to say is that we should have some cyber hygiene practices, that what we should share on WhatsApp and what we should not share. In the last 50 odd days of this coronavirus lockdown, I had received almost about 94 cases. I make a note of this. And out of this 94 cases, I had almost 1/3 of these cases which spoke about the WhatsApp fake university, where the messages are fake in nature. The next is cyber theft, data theft, information theft. We talk nowadays about intellectual property rights, the copyrights, the patents, the trademark secret, so on and so forth. This is all an element. The data today is a very big, important component for an organization. As I just correlate, blood happens to be one of the most important component for a human body to function. For any computerized system to function, I would say that data is very important. If that data has been compromised, if it has been misconstrued, or if it is stolen, then it is a big loss to the organization. A lot of cases are been increasing today in this domain of this cyber theft, data theft, information theft, so on and so forth. The next is cyber porn, cyber pornography. Well, almost 2/3 of the cases which happens in our country, they are related to the pornography point of view. We have got a relevant section, section 67, section 67A, section 67B, and section 66E of the IT Act 2000, which talks about the pornography and the offenses related to it. Well, section 67A talks about adult pornography, dissemination of any information, image by misusing the technology, and whereas section 67B talks about child pornography. The child pornography says that forget about disseminating or distributing it. A mere possession of any type of an image or a video or a data which is pornographic in nature related to a child itself is an offense, just a mere possession of it. And section 67A is an adult pornography, talks about transmission of data. And section 66E talks about violation of privacy, which means voyeurism, installing cameras in public places to capture the privacy of a person. The next is cyber terrorism. Well, our topic today is not on that, so just a glimpse. Well, misuse of technology for doing some terrorist activities that could be termed as cyber terrorism. The last is cyber fraud. When I talk about cyber fraud, it is categorized, well, everything is fraud, what I was just talking to you, but when I categorize as a cyber fraud, it meant to be financial frauds. Well, a lot of financial frauds are now taking place, and today the cyber criminal is assured enough because our police are helping us out by fighting the coronavirus for us. We are sitting inside, they are fighting for us. So I'm sure that in most of the police stations now, they are glued of protecting us. So during this time, such type of cyber crimes will increase. Most of these cyber fraud are taking advantage of these situations. Therefore, we all should ensure that our money gets to be protected. You have to be very conscious enough that if you get a call from any person, as if he's calling from a bank, asking you to give the confidential information about your card, that is your card number, your expiry date, your CVV number, your OTP, please be cautious. Never part with this data to that fraudster, who in turn may get access to your bank account and the money could be withdrawn. Well, chances are there that in the days to come, a crorepati can become roadpati and a roadpati can become crorepati. That's why we have to be very cautious today whenever any financial transactions are being done through this digital mode. I'm not saying that we should not do the transaction through the digital mode. We should, but while doing it, the cyber hygiene practice of ensuring that we are doing transaction with a legitimate person is very important. Please don't download apps from the Play Store without finding the authenticity of the app. There have been an instance where an app called as AnyDesk app, which once installed in a mobile phone, would then give the access of that mobile phone to a hacker, who in turn can remotely do a banking transaction and remove the money from the victim's account. The AnyDesk app has been categorized as a hacking app by the Reserve Bank of India, and therefore we should be very cautious about it. While doing any type of transactions, while we go to the ATM counter to remove the money, to withdraw the money, we should be extremely cautious to ensure that there are no skimmers which have been installed. We should be very cautious that there are no cameras installed which can capture our particular digital footprints of our PIN number, what we enter, because these cameras, if they are installed at the place where we are having a PIN number to be entered, then I think we should be very, very cautious in such type of an ATMs. I'm sure that there is lot of security is there at this moment, but still you never know. The criminals are many a times few steps ahead, and therefore we should be very cautious while we do any digital transactions. They are for a betterment, but it can be good if we take preventive measures at our end. Well, when you talk about a cybercrime, it's an evaluation of the scene of a crime. Well, a crime scene should be evaluated properly before collecting of evidence, because I have something to speak to you now related to the evidence point of view. And therefore, when you talk about evidence, evidence is associated with a crime which has taken place. The digital evidence are very volatile in nature and could be available in number of devices, locations, and formats. Let me tell you, the evidence what is there in any digital device is very volatile. It could be easily tampered with, it could be easily modified with, it could be easily deleted. And therefore, while this digital evidences are being collected, it should be ensured that that piece of information is collected in a form which tomorrow the court shall not have any doubt on the validity of that particular information or that particular data. Evidences like number of computer system, the type of connection, personal appliances, and computer peripherals should be noted and photographed. Well, the categories of a cybercrime, well, cybercrime can take place of an individual having one or more computer network, which means that it can take place in an organization. It can take place in a coffee shop of an individual or a company. It can take place in a public place. To that matter, when you talk about a cybercrime, it can take place either at a home, in an office, or in a public place. Very cautious to be enough to ensure that when the cybercrime does take place, the data has a very critical role in terms of evaluating the cybercrime and then the investigation going forward. The precautions to be taken while this digital evidences are being collected, well, minor mishandling may corrupt or vanish the evidence. Without proper documentation, evidence may not be admissible in court of law. Special skills are required for leveling and preserving of digital evidence. Chain of custody should be prepared to identify who handled the evidence. A proper documentation like the digital evidence form should be done separately for every device, and the serial number of devices should be properly documented. Well, all of these points correlates to one of a document, and that is called as the chain of custody. The chain of custody is a document in which the whole history of what the digital evidence you are collecting it, including which device you are collecting it, the serial number from where you are, the serial number of that device, who is the person to whom this device is belonging to, who is the person who is collecting this evidence. All of these has to be properly recorded and documented in the chain of custody. This chain of custody is a very important document going ahead as far as the investigation is concerned. Let me tell you, not writing the serial number of device in the chain of custody will make or shall make the court feel that this information is being taken from a Y device. You may talk it is taken from this device, but a mismatch of a serial number of a device or just not writing a serial number of a device could make all that good work what has been done just going haywire without any proper use for the court for the final logical conclusions to be made. Well, I would like to share with you in one of the chain of custody when the digital evidence were collected from the cyber crime scene process. The serial number of the device was a combination of numbers, something as A00123. Well, the person who collected this he thought that it is not, it is A00 actually. He took it as AOO. Well, the whole particular chain of custody failed. And when that particular device was being sent for forensic examination, well, the device number did not match. The serial number did not match. And therefore, all that particular work which was done just went out of the drain. Very important to note that each and every particular number, the alphabets, which is the serial number of the device, should be properly documented in the chain of custody, and that too by a very authentic person. Many of the times, the chain of custody is also done by people who are not acquainted with collecting the digital evidence, and therefore, at the time of the processing in the court, the person is not able to address to that matter, and therefore, in many of the cases, it may lead to an acquittal of the matter where that matter was based for a conviction to be done. The admissibility of the digital evidence, well, I'm sure that some of you may be knowing about the section 65B. Well, if some of them are not knowing, for the benefit of all, I'll just read it out. The Evidence Act provides that evidence can be given regarding only facts in issue or of relevance, whereas section 65A provides that the contents of electronic records may be proved in accordance with the provisions of section 65B. Section 65B provides that notwithstanding that anything which contained in the Evidence Act, any information contained in an electronic record, that is the contents of a document or a communication printed on a paper that has been stored, recorded and copied in optical or magnetic media produced by a computer output, is deemed to be a document admissible as evidence without further proof of the original's production, provided that the conditions in section 65B 2 to 5 are satisfied, which I will show you in the next slide. But there's one important caution. While this digital evidence is being taken from any device, let's be very much cautious to that fact, as I have got this WhatsApp message which came from the principal's number to me. Just merely taking the printout of that particular WhatsApp message and having a section 65B certificate to be attached may not prove, or it should not be proven, that this has come from this number only. I believe that in today's particular era, when messages are being fabricated, messages are being distorted, the most important aspect is that how this evidence was collected. The job of the investigating officer is very important now to ensure that what was the process by which they collected this digital evidence. Just a printout and a mere section 65B certificate doesn't prove that this message was being originated from the sender's number. There are many instances. Well, many of you at this moment may think that WhatsApp is end-to-end encrypted. Well, technically, yes, but it has got its own set of problems as far as the legal issues are concerned. I was there in a part of a program when I was teaching some senior law enforcement officials, law enforcement agency, I was teaching them. And while I was teaching them on the subject of electronic evidence, the topic came on was related to WhatsApp message. And most of the time today, the law enforcement agency are using the electronic evidence to be produced as a part of the investigations and also produced in the court. And so we had a live demonstration wherein a senior police officer sent a message to me on WhatsApp, "I want to meet you." Well, that's what he typed on his mobile phone. By the time it came to me, it never came as "I want to meet you." It came as "I want to kill you." Well, that's the part of my story. He said that, "No, I sent to you, I want to meet you." How it came, "I want to kill you"? I said, look, that's a part of the investigation, but prima facie, there's something at this end where you have threatened me. What I mean to say is that today, the device on which the messages come, even though it is, WhatsApp says it is end-to-end encrypted, there are technologies available where messages can be distorted, they can be changed, they can be modified. It's a job of the law enforcement agency to check the authenticity of the message. And it becomes equally responsible for the court then to examine that the process which is taken or done by the law enforcement agency is done correctly, or whether it is a framed document which has been produced in the court to have the victim to be marginalized. What I mean to say is that we have the mobile phones today. Well, some of the mobile phones could be compromised. There are a lot of ways, and I'm sure that you should also ensure that your device is authentic. What message you receive is authentic. Well, there are two types of mobiles. One is a rooted mobile and second is an unrooted mobile. When you buy a mobile phone from the market, it should be unrooted. If you have a mobile which is rooted, then changing, modifying the messages, all possibility is done, and therefore the digital evidence loses its intrinsic value. Well, going ahead, what are the conditions for admissibility of the electronic evidence? The computer output containing the information was produced by the computer during the period over which the computer was used regularly to store or process the information for the purpose of any activities regularly carried over that period by a person having lawful control over the use of the computer. Well, having a lawful control of the use of the computer in which the data is processed is the condition number one. During the said period, information of the kind contained in the electronic record or of the kind from which the information so contained is derived was regularly fed into the computer in ordinary course of the said activities, which means that the device in which the information was being stored, recorded, processed, that particular device should be working in a proper fashion. On regular basis, the data was fed into that particular device. The output also which was coming from the device was true and authentic. Throughout the material part of the said period, the computer was operating properly, or if not, then in respect of any period in which it was not operating properly or was out of operation during the part of time was not such as to affect the electronic record or the accuracy of its contents. If the device in which that particular data has been stored or processed, if that particular device at that time was working properly, but later on, maybe there may be some certain glitch on that device, and because of that glitch, maybe the machine or that mobile phone or that laptop was sent for some repair work. The important aspect was that while that particular device was sent for a repair work or while it was not operating properly, after this particular evidence was stored in that device, it is the burden to prove that all of the maintenance issue did not make any changes in the evidence which was recorded in that device before. And the last, the information contained in the electronic record reproduces or is derived from such information fed into the computer in the ordinary course of the said activities, multiplication or reproducing of the copies. Well, some of the caselets, the evidence recorded on CD, well, Anwar PV versus PK Bashir and others. CDs which are made after recording the speeches, songs and announcements using other instruments and by feeding them in the computer. It was held that since the CDs produced were not certified, the same were not admissible as electronic evidence. Section 65B becomes as a mandatory norms. Admissibility of SMS. Rohit Vedpal Kaushal versus the state of Maharashtra. The Bombay High Court, after examining the SMS sent by the accused, held that some of the SMS sent by the accused certainly fall within the scope of Section 67 of the IT Act. Well, when you talk about the SMS, there is a document, and that document is CDR, the call detail record, which is a very critical information, a piece of evidence which can find the truth whether the SMS was originated from the sender's number or whether it was a spoofed one. Just few minutes before, I did mention to you that I got a message from the principal's number that today's webinar stands to be cancelled. How do you prove that it has come from that number? Is through a document that is a CDR, the call detail record, through which it can be found whether that particular message or that SMS was originated from that number on that date and time, or whether it was spoofed. Well, the whole concept of a spoof is the dark web Well, there are technologies available by which SMS can be generated from any number and can be sent to any number. Under these criteria, the CDR plays a very important document to prove whether that message was originated or not. All said and done, it's also another side of the story is that even though in CDR it may show that the message was or the SMS was originated from the sender's number, sometimes it may happen that that device might have been compromised by some certain app or a tool. And under this scenario, it's important to note that during the circumstances, even though the mobile is in your hand, but still the messages can be sent from your number without you are not knowing about it. Under this scenario, the forensic examination of that mobile is very important to prove that whether there was any hidden app, whether there was any spyware which did such type of an activity during the time when this message was percolated from the sender's number to the recipient's number. That's what the forensic science plays a very important role. And cyber forensic is the future, because many of the times today, the crimes which takes place, in many of the crimes, the digital evidence plays a very pivotal role. And therefore, cyber forensics happens to be one of those particular future career buzzword where many, many people would be required. I urge that the universities, the colleges, they should have lot of universities now. Just one or two universities may not suffice the requirement of the cyber forensic people or the professionals. There should be multiple universities where cyber forensic course should be there, where the people should be acquainted, students should be acquainted. I'm not only talking about the student. Today, many of the professionals, many of the advocates today, giving due respect to them, very good in the traditional matters of crime related. But when it comes to cybercrime, well, it becomes a slightly difficult option even for the best of the advocate because of its volatility and the nature of the evidence which has been there. Well, the email as evidence, Nidhi Khakkar versus Munish Khakkar, it was held by the Honorable Court that if the person produced text of information generated through computer, it should be admissible as evidence provided proof was tendered in a manner brought through Evidence Act. And the expert opinion, well, a new section 79A of the IT Act 2000, which provides that the central government may, for the purpose of providing expert opinion on electronic form evidence before any court or other authority specify by notification in the official gazette, any department, body or agency of the central government or a state government as an examiner of electronic evidence. Very important facet. During cybercrime, the investigation, during the time when the evidences has been collected, many of the time it has been found that the persons who go to collect the evidence along with the investigation team are not well acquainted. And therefore, under this scenario, it should be a person from body or agency of the central government or a state government as an examiner of electronic evidence should be there, who shall have the relevant technology to ensure that the evidence which has been collected is as per the provisions which is laid down. In the Pramod Mahajan murder trial, where the learned trial could dismiss the submission that the SMS is inadmissible as valid evidence as the practical demonstration was conducted by the defense witness who was not a cyber expert as per law. I believe that's my part of the session, what I just wanted to talk to you. And I think I've been very vocal in talking to you and telling you about this whole matter. But before I just wind up from this, a couple of minutes, I just wanted to share it with you. You may be wondering how this WhatsApp message came to me. Well, there are a lot of techniques. We have a lot of VoIP servers which are available. And through this VoIP, it's one of those wire media by which the messages could then be percolated. So that's one of those particular part. But the examination of the WhatsApp message is very important and very critical to that point, is that even you could do it if you want to find the authenticity of any WhatsApp message which has come to you, you may just go to any of the chat what you have received, maybe in a personal group, or maybe in your personal chat, or maybe in your group. You can select a message. Once you select a message, on the top portion of your mobile, if you get some certain images as left arrow, right arrow, copy, paste, the delete bucket, star, you can conclude that this is an authentic message. But when you select a message to check for its authenticity, and the top portion of your mobile, if you get a message called as edit message, EDIT, edit message, you may conclude that this is a spoofed message, looked as if it is sent by a sender who is authentic, but actually it is not come from that sender's number. So this is one of the Y media by which you could check the authenticity of the WhatsApp messages. In terms of the SMS, I did mention to you that if there is an element of a doubt where the victim says or where the accused says that no, I have never sent this message, well, under this scenario, calling up the CDR, which the investigation team is doing, calling up the CDR, finding it out through the CDR at this date and time, whether this message was transmitted from this number. If it reflects in the CDR of the accused, it is concluded that it is sent by him. But if it doesn't reflect in the CDR of the accused, it can be concluded that this SMS was not sent by the victim. It was a spoofed message. Well, then it is a job of the investigating agency to find out the source, that who spoofed this message, from which place, so on and so forth. But at least prima facie, the charges which are leveled on that accused, he could be freed to an extent, saying that you have not done it, it's somebody else. Because just a mobile number to be known without the access of any device for that matter, spoofed messages can be generated. The same thing is applicable even for the email. Not knowing the password of an email ID, still an email can be generated from anybody's email ID and sent to any person in this universe. Therefore, today's cybercrime becomes a very dangerous and a vicious modus operandi. And therefore, the evidence which has been collected has to be properly organized, properly checked, properly verified to ensure that the right person has been caught. And the person on whom the charges have been placed, sometimes it may happen that he has not done the crime, but then under this scenario, the investigating agency and the technique should be there in place to say that he has been out from that matter. I think I have dwelt upon the issues, and I don't know if I'm able to take some certain questions, because the session was from 5:30 to 6:30. It's cross 6:30. This is what I wanted to talk to you. So if at all there are any questions which is possible for me to take, I will take it across. I leave this option to you all.
Thank you so much. It was not just good, but it was an excellent webinar, I would say. And you have given so much of knowledge and so much of light you have put on so many things which we were not even knowing. And like there are few questions, sir, that we would like to ask. I mean, the participants would like to ask.
Yes.
The first question is, from where we can get a certificate under section 65B to prove the email or WhatsApp or CDs as a valid evidence, sir?
See, it's a very controversial topic when you talk about an email point of view, very controversial. Let me tell you that first. But then when you talk about an email, to make the things very clear on whose name that email is registered or the email ID is registered, from that person, you would have the section 65B certificate to be taken. That's number one. Now, when you talk about the CDs, let me just give a small example that you have say a jewelry shop in which there is a robbery which has taken place. And while the robbery has taken place, the owner of that jewelry shop, while that CCTV recording is being taken out, he is the owner of the device, but he doesn't know how to operate that device. So under this point of view, what could be done is that you could then take a certificate from that person who is maintaining that particular CCTV. So under that point of view, whoever is maintaining that CCTV, so he would extract that particular data from the CDR, from the DVR, and then he would issue a certificate with following the compliance and all the compliance as well as the provisions which are laid down in section 65B certificate. That's what it could be done across. For SMS, CDR, rather for CDR, it is a nodal officer of that service provider. Maybe is a BSNL, MTNL, or whoever it is. Whoever is the nodal officer, he has to give the CDR along with the section 65B certificate to ensure that this particular CDR of this particular XYZ person has been taken from a server, and this is the mirror copy of it. When I talk about a mirror copy, it's a cloned copy. I'm not saying exactly that it is a duplicate. I'm saying it's a clone or a duplicate, a cloned copy or a mirror copy, which has been taken from the original server. So for email, on whose name that email ID is registered, for the SMS, the nodal officer of that service provider, whoever is the service provider, of that particular, the CDR which has been, taken out. And I gave an example in a jewelry shop. If there is any robbery which has taken place, the owner of that particular jewelry shop need not give a section 65B certificate because he doesn't know how that device functions. So in that case, the person who maintains that particular CDR, maintains that DVR or that CCTV, can extract the data and he can give a section 65B certificate. Yes.
Sir, because of the time restraints, I know we won't be able to take all the questions, but a last question that I would like to put is, there are so many frauds which is happening nowadays, that is cybercrime. It comes under the cybercrime because of this mobile wallets, phone pay, or
Yes.
the other mobile apps are there, like Paytm is there. And when you go to lodge a complaint to the police, they say no, it doesn't comes under our section, that is it comes under cyber police section, and the people like go from desk to desk, but they don't get justice. It is very hard to prove that who have done it. They said you have given the consent because you have given the OTP. So any words which you would like to put on this, sir?
I think I would not blame the law enforcement agency for this. What I would say is that I understand your point. You're saying that when a complainant goes to a police station, I understand what you are telling me, but I would not blame the complete blame on them. The simple answer is that when we are using Paytm, or for that matter, any of the e-wallets, I think the first and foremost, we should read the terms and conditions and the privacy policy of it. Point number 2, I think the service provider who are giving this e-wallet facilities, they should be made more accountable of this. The fact is that if tomorrow, if any person is calling me up and saying me something that, your debit card is stolen or whatever, or your debit card has been, your data is there with me, you have to part your data with me, so on and so forth. How did this person know that my particular account is there with so-and-so agency? Somewhere I feel that the data is getting to be going out from the source, which is making this crime to happen. Till the time the best cyber hygiene practices are not been there with the person who uses such type of the accounting practices of this e-wallet, I would not say that the crimes would be minimized or it would be erased. And when we go into the police, let me tell you, okay, in terms of the Paytm, when you're talking, the servers are in India, but there are some wallets whose servers are placed outside India. Believe me, to get this information as to who has done this is a very big Herculean task. And number 2 is that even though the traces of that person is known, it has been done from so and so place, today many of the times the digital technology has got spoof technology in place where it is very difficult to find out the actual tracer or the originator. My biggest or my best suggestion is that to every single user who uses the e-wallet or who uses any type of the e-banking solution, please read the privacy policy, terms and conditions of that app before you start using it. Many a cases, it is just the usage of that particular app which we are not aware, by which it puts into a dilemma. If you read this, I am sure most of these particular cases would be minimized. Yes. Any more questions?
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, the questions are keep on like piling up, but I think that we have time restraints, so we won't be taking any other question. But there is a one incident which I would like you to tell me about, sir, which our principal ma'am have actually told us. And I came to know that you met 10 years back to Ricky Ponting, sir. What was it actually? Ricky Ponting.
Well, that was old instance. I had some session of cybercrime in one of the college, and it got cancelled. It got cancelled because the captain of then Australian team, he had come up over there, and because of it, my session got cancelled. And then rather than being a resource person in that college, I was audience, and then I spoke to the then Australian captain, and then he told me that cybercrime is more important than the cricket, because I believe that people are using technology. People may just watch cricket and they may just forget it, but then they are using technology. So he was very much, feeling a little sorry that why the session of this cybercrime got cancelled in that college, and a very interesting thing. But at least I had the acquaintance to meet one of the biggest cricketing personality in the world at that moment.
Sir, it was a pleasure to have you. In fact, we are very much honored that you have given your precious time to us, and we had you on our webinar. And I think after this excellent session, our subscriber base would be double now.
I only hope that there are so many of the participants who are watching this live from different places. I only urge, request, and suggest that India requires lot of cyber forensic, lot of advocates having the knowledge of this investigation and the legal process involved. So I only urge that, in order to make us a superpower nation, we should have good quality legal professionals having this knowledge of this cybercrime in terms of the evidence which has been collected and the admissibility, the preservation, the collections of evidence, so on and so forth. Because I see many a times in my professional life, when I talk to some of the system, to some of these senior advocates, I find that this knowledge is not up to the mark which we should be having it. If there are many youngsters, I urge you, please get into this field. You have got a big future, a great future in this. Please don't see the newspaper, don't read on the internet that because of coronavirus, there'll be a job shortage. Maybe, but I will tell you, in this field, there is a extremely high surge of good quality professionals to be required. So there is a ray of hope, and a big ray of hope, that India can become a superpower as far as the investigation, forensic admissibility of the evidence related to the digital threats.
Sir, I can't say about the other participants, but after your urging, I'm definitely getting into cybercrime law, sir.
Oh, nice. It always starts from
so
one.
It was an excellent session to have you, sir.
Please go ahead. Please.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I would like to thank you once again, sir, for giving your immense knowledge and your experience, sharing your experience with us. And I hope to see many more sessions like this in coming times ahead. And so this time we have got lesser time of yours, and I hope so next time we'll be getting more.
Sure.
So thank you so much, sir, once again. I pray everyone to stay home and stay safe, sir.
Yes. Same from my side. Be safe, be secured at your place. We will be able to overcome this coronavirus. Don't worry. We will do it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot,
Thank
sir.
you so much, sir. Once again, sir.
Thanks a lot, sir. On the behalf of Siddharth Law College, we thank you a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you.